Hello, and welcome to the Steps to Happiness show on Soulivity TV. I'm your host, Teresa Greco, happiness coach, author, editor, writer, educator, and Reiki master. Are you ready to follow your joy and tap into your inner happiness? Then the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, my guests and I explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices that can help lead you back to the happiness within you. The happiness principle for today's show is having happy relationships. Caring about ourselves and others is an essential key to our happiness. Science has proven that helping others boosts happiness. It actually activates regions of the brain associated with pleasure, social connection, and trust, creating a warm glow effect, which actually explains why it feels so good to give. Scientists believe that altruistic behavior releases endorphins in the brain, producing the positive feeling known as the helper's high. In addition, giving has been proven to increase the satisfaction and longevity of our lives. It provides a sense of meaning and purpose to our life when we know that what we are doing is helping to make a positive difference in the lives of others. However, I also know that despite our best efforts, we can't make the people around us happy, and especially when we are not happy ourselves. How can you take care of others when you don't take care of yourself? Many of us have been taught since we were very young that we should take care of others before taking care of ourselves. We're proud of forgetting our own needs and making sure everyone else is doing fine. Mothers in particular are guilty of this. I know, I've been there. Running on fumes to ensure everyone is taken care of, and then feeling guilty when you take just a small amount of time for yourself. But are we really loving ourselves when we place the well-being of everyone else around us before our own? Can we be effective in all the different roles if our cup is empty because we've given to everyone else and have not had time to replenish our own cup? Can we show up as the best version of ourselves in all aspects of our lives if we don't put the oxygen mask on ourselves first before we help others to breathe too? These are great questions. And on the show today, we're going to be looking at how to have healthy and happy relationships with those closest to us. What do we need to do for us so that our external world reflects our inner world? After the break, I'll be speaking with a relationship expert about this and more. Stay with us after the break.
Now for something delicious. Natural Life Bioactive Manuka honey is a premium quality pure Manuka honey. Enjoy your daily dose on your cereal, in your tea, on your toast, or my favorite, by the spoon.
Welcome back to the Steps to Happiness show. Let me introduce my guest. He's a holistic mindset coach and author who mentors busy professionals on how to transform their stress into enhanced work performance and improved life balance. Adam Hart, hello and welcome to the show.
Right on. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Teresa.
So Adam, why don't you tell us a little bit about the clients you work with and why they are seeking help?
Yeah, the majority of my clients are really busy professionals who have, I guess, put their self-care aside for a bit too long. And now they are finding themselves trying to manage symptoms in a way where they're not quite able to get back to the vitality that they know they could have. And they're looking for solutions that fit into that busy lifestyle with ease.
And so as a consequence to them being really their busy lifestyle, what are their relationships closest to them like? What are some of the
Yeah, well,
complaints that they have?
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at relationship focused, there's definitely a lot of friction in the communication. And it comes a lot in relation to living a little bit more reactively or a lot more reactively. And the relationships is definitely one of the areas outside of health, personal health, or career based stuff. Relationships is one of those areas that begins to suffer quite a bit when you're not able to manage the day to day stress response. And so you're looking at a lot of miscommunication, a lot of resentment that comes up, a lot of spinning in these cycle patterns of trying to fix something and not quite able to get your relation, especially the personal ones with partners, in a place where there's a lot of joy and happiness that leads the way you get to live.
Mhm. And so, in your experience, I just want to dive into a little bit about, what that relationship with your partner is like and what you might be feeling that perhaps your partner isn't doing for you. So there's a lot of complaining about he's not doing this, she's not doing this, he's not helping me, she's not helping me, she's not supportive. And I know because I've been there. So before my happiness, when it started, was that the relationships that were closest to me, I also felt were suffering, and that in the work that I did and that I continue to do now, it's been 10 years, is that I know that it, it all stemmed from within me. That as soon as I started to work on myself, when I started to honor myself, when I started to respect myself more, when I started to love myself more, then all of the relationships closest to me all magically healed themselves. Is that I didn't have to go and say, oh, to my husband, you need to be different, because then only I'll be happy if you make this change and you help me here. And it was like all of a sudden he was doing all those things without me even asking. And the issues I had with, let's say, my relationships with my in-laws, my sisters, my parents, like all of those other ones, that I always felt that I was being disrespected a lot, being judged a lot. But it all stemmed from within me when I started to respect myself more by creating boundaries, by speaking up for myself, by honoring what I want, what I needed to do for myself first, before feeling like I needed to meet the needs of everyone else, because I felt like they would love me, they wouldn't respect me, they wouldn't revere me, they wouldn't, if I didn't listen to what they wanted me to do. So I wanted just to quickly dive into, as I said, what does the marital relationship or partner relationship look like? What are people most commonly complaining to you about? And then if they have children, what does that look like? That, is it chaotic in the home? Does it feel like a lot of people, not listening to each other, not respecting each other's wishes, even, and asks and things like that, so that people can maybe relate to when we get into the steps on how we can change some of that.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And it's tricky right now for sure. I mean, if we look at a lot of our internal relationships in our community, our friends, our family, the community around us, the coworkers around us, you'll notice that there is very much a very similar pattern of reactivity, and that automatically starts with the way that our own biology works. And if we understand our own biology, and that's really specifically around the way I work and how I guide my clients, it's a deeper understanding of how the nervous system is in a relationship with the mind, and the mind is in a relationship with the nervous system, the brain and the nervous system. And I love how you identified that it's about yourself, and it's the inner piece that we really need to understand, that we get to a point where we become sabotaged from our stress response from a very young age. We're not given to parents from a young age who understand how to support us through co-regulation. How does the infant receive the vibration from the parent's nervous system to support the child or infant's nervous system, to teach the brain to feel safe and feel loved when it has an experience with stress, fight or flight stress response. And so when you have kids who are having a lot of reactivity, it's not necessarily what the parents are saying, it's the parents' way of being in those moments that allows the child to feel safe and feel loved. The same works in our own relationships with our partners. It's a matter of understanding that our reactivity to our partner is coming from an unresolved stress pattern that's coming from childhood. And it only is because we haven't taught ourselves how to co regulate our mind's use of the pattern thoughts that create the stress, that create a fight or flight response. And so you cannot, and we know this, you can't change your partner, but you can change your own energy and your own experience within the relationship to recognize that you have a lot more power in manifesting, creating the relationship of your dreams in a way where it doesn't require you having to work so hard to figure it out. It's all about connecting inward and understanding that beautiful relationship with your own nervous system in a way where it shows you what it can do for you.
That is so, I mean, I also believe, like you, that everything is energy. We're all energy. And I know that my energy has a big impact on the energy in our home, that there is this beautiful harmony in our home that I feel that I radiate because I feel that in our home. But then everything is like a mirror to us too, right? And if everything in our external environment is just mirroring what we're giving out. And then I feel like I'm receiving the harmony from them. And it's just this very beautiful, like, ecosystem here in the home of of
Huge,
peace and
beautiful.
happiness and joy.
Yeah.
And I really feel like it radiates out from me into, like, everywhere I am, with everyone, that I interact with. And it really does reflect back to you. So that's really cool that you stated that. So just back to, what are people complaining about in their home? So, like, what is it that when they first come to you, what would, let's say, the two partners be lamenting
Yeah.
about?
Well, it's mostly from the men. You're hearing that, I'm not being heard, and a lot
Mm.
of needing to compromise and not feeling like their needs are being met. And from the women, there's a lot of a feeling that not being listened to, not being understood. It's very, it's so common, the dialogue that I have with my clients. Everybody is overlapping in what they're sharing, and again, it comes down to the understanding of the brain. On average, we have 70,000 thoughts every day, and once the brain starts to lock into the fight or flight hormones, the adrenaline and cortisol, and the brain being a survival organ, it loves to feed off of those. And it loves to use proximity in order to be fed the survival energy. And proximity being those that you are closest to in relationship. So the brain will constantly use those that you're closest to, find the moments where you're feeling triggered, and it will start to loop a lot of those 70,000 thoughts to try and keep you stuck in the reaction. Now, it's not doing it on purpose, it's just a survival organ. So all of a sudden, a lot of your thoughts keep going back to this pattern reaction to your partner, because your
Mm.
brain knows that you're going to give it the adrenaline when you react. And so you start to see that overlap in the dialogue that most relationships are under. And it all comes from a lot of responsibility, especially as you have kids. You have your work life, you have your home life, you have your kids, and then there's this lack of balance. And a lack of balance is what a lot of folks come to me about. And again, so much of it, and I know we want to get into the solution side as well, but it does come down to doing our best to remove ourselves from the in the moment that we are feeling the need to be reactive. That's where the work is done. And I'm not knocking counseling and therapy and all the different modalities out there. But if we're not looking at the solution in the moments of life that it's happening, we're not going to be able to cultivate a fresh energy, a fresh vibration through the
Mm.
feeling we're experiencing to manifest it any different.
Mm. I totally agree that many of us are living in the past. 95% of those thoughts are thoughts from the past. So we keep recycling the same, like, and maybe we put it under the rug or put it in the closet, but then when there's a trigger, all of a sudden all that garbage comes out. Like, oh, when you said this to my mom, and it was like 10 years ago, but it's like you're carrying it with you. And then these moments happen and they explode, and you're like, what the heck? Why are you bringing up situations from like 10 years ago? Because
Right.
as you're saying, this is like what happens in that our happiness exists in the now moment, but we don't connect to it the way that we need to, as you said, to tap into that fresh energy that we can, if we stay in the moment. Being in the moment and living there is where our power resides, where our
Uh,
peace is, our joy is, all of it is
yeah,
there.
it's
And
it's
so
everything. It's all of life.
thank you so much for reminding me, but all of us, about how important it is. And so let's, if we can now, then go into, you've developed a program with some steps about how we can regulate the nervous system, bring ourselves into the now, do what we
Yeah.
need to do to recenter ourselves, realign ourselves with the love, peace, and happiness that we are. This sounds so brilliant to me, because that's it's exactly what the show is about. The steps that we can take to help support and connect with our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual self, all in the now moment. And so, please, where do you want to begin with your program and the steps that we can start to incorporate?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think the step one is always and will always be, we have to be able to cultivate a relationship with noticing. And so I teach all my clients, the first step is, acronym is SNBC. So SNBC, S stands for stop. So you think about it, if you really want to, in terms of your personal relationship, let's say with your partner, try this in the next 24 hours. You wake up in the morning and your mind is going to have a looping pattern thought about your partner. If it's not going in the most beautiful way where you're just in love and connected, then it's coming because of a stress response that your mind has got you locked into. For example, I've had a recent conversation with one of my clients who said, I just can't get over every time I come down to the kitchen and I see dirty plates, I blame my wife. Right away, I go into this position where I'm just so frustrated. She doesn't care about me. It's still dirty in the kitchen. Why is it? And obviously, teaching him how to use this methodology, he's found a way to stop in that moment. And then there's the end, which is the notice. Notice, okay, what am I thinking right now? Okay, I'm noticing that I'm thinking in a way that it's not supportive for how I want to feel. Okay, so then what do you do about that? Well, that's where the next acronym, which is B. So SNB, B is breathe. Now, the breathing is a very specific breath practice. It's based off of heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is essentially working with the variability of the beats of your heart in a way that creates coherence through the vagus nerve, so that actually in 33 seconds, you can reset your nervous system. You can bring it back down from that reactive state, get the frontal lobe of the brain working, the executive function. So you're thinking cleaner and clearer, you're more focused and more able to just be present. And at the same time, you want to bring in the feeling of how you do want to feel in that moment as the alternative. And this is kind of a key missing piece that a lot of folks miss is, yes, it's important to, one, we want to stop in the moment of life. We're being reactive. We want to notice, okay, what's happening in this moment? We want to connect to our breath using this 33-second breath practice. But the key here is that we want to now reset the nervous system, because what you're doing in the breath practice is you're resetting the vibration. But the thing is if we now don't know how we do want to feel, the nervous system vibrates uncertainty. It's no longer vibrating what we
Mhm.
don't want, which is where most of us are stuck and living. Okay, well that's great. We're not stuck in the frustration or anxiousness or anger about your partner. Okay, but if you don't now replace it with how you do want it to be, it just vibrates nothing. It's just, I don't know, what do you want? I don't know what to give you. I'm going to give you all sorts of. So we really want to link it now into a position of what it is you do want. And for most of us, it's just wanting to be in love with each other and wanting to be connected and have deep, authentic communication. And so what is that as a feeling form when you put it in at the same time? And then really it's about the choice, which is the final acronym, is then now you can choose your action from that place instead of being reactive. And you start to notice how that begins to manifest a whole other way of life. And that's not just in relationships, it's in everything. It's in how our health can be managed. It's in how our career, our finances, all of it can be managed the same way when we start to play in the moments of life with resetting our own stress response to life, where we don't need to be in fight or flight, to resetting it to where and how we do want to feel. And it's pretty magical and how quickly it starts to work for us.
So if we were to go, like, let's enact this situation, as you said, you come into the kitchen, and that's sometimes my kitchen sink too, because that's my son's chore to do, and I don't like a full sink. I When I'm in charge, it is always empty. Everything gets loaded into the dishwash, but that is his chore, his one chore to do. So I come in, I'm like, okay. So when you said that, I'm like, yeah, but I'm for me though, it's not a big deal. Like, it's not like, I don't like that it's there, but it doesn't throw my whole day off, and I'm like, oh no, nobody loves me like in
Right.
the scope.
But for
I'm
some
like,
people, it's the trigger.
because it's a mountain of stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's not the one dirty dish. Like another guest said, if sometimes it could just be you don't have the coffee in the morning, or you've run out of the cream, and now you're like, it's like this big explosion. It's like, no, it's
Yeah.
because there are a whole bunch of tiny things, like that person who beat you to the parking spot at the mall. All of a sudden it's like, what's all this rage? They're
Yeah.
coming out. I'm like, really, guys, like, what's so it's like, it's piling up, and the dish in the sink is just, the kind of tipping point, right? At that point, that it could be any little thing that could just, like, oh no, my whole day is ruined. Some people, the toilet paper's been put on wrong on the, like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. So if we
Yeah.
do that, situation, okay, we're feeling now triggered. So do you mind to coach us through the 30-second breathing technique?
Yeah, yeah. So the 33
Thank
second
you.
breath practice. Yeah, 33 seconds. I mean, the key to this breath practice, and essentially there's a few key steps that, and the way I teach it to my clients, it's called Heart Flow. And Heart Flow, essentially what we're doing is in the moment of life, we want to create coherence in our vagus nerve so that the reset happens in the nervous system. The key to this breath practice is the rhythm. It's keeping the rhythm really clean and consistent throughout the three breaths. And that's what we're working with. So it's a three breath practice. We're doing 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out, three times. That's hence the 33 seconds. And the only thing that's necessary is to make sure that we keep it nice and clean. So we're not doing any breaks in between. It's up for 4, down for 7, up for 4, down for 7, up for 4, down for 7. And ideally, you're doing it through your nose for the up, and then out through your mouth. Or a lot of people, it's kind of tough to do through the nose, but if you come out through your mouth for the down on the 7, that's totally fine. And I love to put my hand on my heart just to feel connected to my heartbeat. If I am in a position where I can close my eyes, I love to close my eyes and teach others to close their eyes. Obviously, if you're driving, that's not the ideal. And on the out breath, this is where it's really critical. This is where we want to reset the vibration of the nervous system to be connected to how we do want to feel about that particular scenario that we are in that moment. So if you come down and you notice you're being revved up by your partner, you're in the kitchen, the kids are screaming and yelling. My kids know this very well. I'll stop, and they'll look at me like, "Oh, daddy's breathing again. Here he goes." And that's okay. And it might be, for our mind, it might feel embarrassing depending on where we try and do this, but it's so powerful that you're going to want to do it. And all we're doing in the moment, we're just stop. Okay, stop. Noticing I'm not happy with how I'm feeling in this very particular scenario. Now I'm going to do the breath work. And so you're doing 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out, 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out, 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out through your nose. And you'll notice an immediate connection to feeling more peace and more calm. And then that's where you get to then do the choice. right? So if you
So
want to
Brian,
do it with me, we can.
yes, let's do it. Now, Adam, so when you're breathing in, you're noticing how you're feeling, or are you trying to get to like a place of almost like neutrality inside of you, or are you breathing in and focusing on the fact that you're upset?
Yeah. So when you're doing the breath in, you can still be connecting to the feeling of how you do want things to be. All right. So as you're going
How you
in,
want things
it's
to be?
really, yeah. So you can do it both on the in and on the out. It just seems to be a little bit easier when you're doing the in, just really connect to your heart and the clean, beautiful communication through the nerves. And then on the out, really just focus on the feeling and just keep trying to bring peace in this moment as you go in, and then really connect to how do I want to feel on the out. And so what I'll
Now,
do is I can,
Adam, sorry,
yes,
how come the
no,
out? Because I also do breath work, and
yeah,
I've never encountered a um, I don't know what I don't a methodology where the exhale is 7 seconds on the exhale. Like I have where it's like, 4 seconds in and then like a pause and then a 4 seconds out and then a pause, or if it's box breathing or something, but it's always been like the
yeah.
same seconds in and out. Why is it that we need the 7 seconds on like the extra longer exhale?
Yeah, and there's so much out there as far as science and different breath practices. There's one, I mean, essentially for me, this is coming from my own discovery of my own stress response and living in high in anxiety. And I got really heavy into rock climbing. And I kept doing this very particular breath practice when I was climbing. And when I pulled back and I'd have all this power back, because that's a real fight or flight scenario, one that you have to control your stress response. And it all of a sudden opened my eyes to, wow, there's something about what I'm doing with my breath that's beyond anything anybody ever told me. And I was given a lot of medication for depression and anxiety over the years. And I'm not knocking medication. I just wasn't told that I can work with my nervous system in the moments of life. And so the 4-7 came to me from the research into heart rate variability. And the more I understood, okay, so there's something powerful in the rhythm of the beats, 4 in, 7 out. And I know there's a lot that do 3 and 6, and then there's a lot that do pausing. But the ability to just keep the consistency in the rhythm, I think, is the key. I have clients who have changed that number around, and they still find it very powerful because in the end, it's creating a connection to presence in the moment. But I know as far as the neuroscience goes, the rhythm is really the 4 in, 7 out is really key for allowing the variability of the heart, the beats of the heart to get to a point where it creates coherence. So that's why I do four,
Okay,
seven.
Okay, let's
And
do
that's,
it. Let's do it.
yeah.
I'm excited.
Okay.
And I love the fact that it's 30 seconds, right? That you're like, oh, where am I be able? It's 30 seconds, guys. Like 30
Right.
seconds. Like we can take
But
30
it's very,
seconds to bring
but it
ourselves
is the
back
most
to who we are.
challenging. It's the most challenging thing, though, still, because the mind does not want us to get settled. It loves us being frantic. Actually, okay, I'm mindful of that word love. It doesn't love it. It just knows that if it keeps us frantic, it can keep feeding off the quick energy of the adrenaline and the cortisol. So
Yeah.
we're just creating a different way to utilize our energy, and you feel it physically and mentally immediately. So I'll count you. I'll count you through it, and then we'll go from there. All right. So
Okay.
starting now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do a couple more on your own. 2 more.
Adam, I know. Now I know. It's like I answered my own question. That those extra beats on the exhale, it's like you need them. It's like and it just absolutely just takes you like down. It's just like, oh, like just a
Right? It
little bit further.
forces the shoulders drop on those extra beats. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it anchors us and grounds us in this moment. And most people, when they experience this for their first time, they go through a withdrawal. They go through a almost a yawning, resetting. Oh my God, now I'm feeling like I need to rest. Because they do. The nervous system just wants to be given the space to heal us the way the nervous system wants to heal us. We just never really give it the space to do what it can do for us. It's so powerful and doesn't
Mhm.
require and I'm not knocking any of this, but it doesn't require the fitness programs and the dieting and the this and the that. That can come after the nervous system is healed. If you're doing all of that before your nervous system is healed, there's a conflict. And so get the nervous system on your side first. Your mind starts to work differently. You're in love with yourself because it's the most powerful act of self-love you can possibly do is to reset in the moments of life like that. And all that's left is just pure abundance to come to you in a way where you have the cognitive ability to take action on
And the C then when you're making a choice, so in that scenario that we were talking about, are you helping people to frame the C in some kind of light to say, okay, you're going to make a loving choice to say, okay, for me, yes, my son did not do the did not do the dishes, which is his one chore to do, but I love him so much, and his presence in my life is so much more than just, oh, he didn't do the dishes. And eventually they'll get done. And yes, I might have to like remind him, maybe nag a smidge, but I might have to remind him to do it. But it's not all that upsetting. So on the C, are you helping people that, like I said, to frame that in a loving way?
it. Yeah. Now the C is really, it's the extension of the energy you now produced. And so it's really important that you don't lock yourself in the choice based off of a have to. All right. Well, now I have to do this because I just did the reset. So now I got to make sure now I'm hugging everybody and I'm doing that. It's all a matter of noticing that in the choice is where you manifest the ease of what you can do next to extend the space you get to live in that vibration of your own happiness and joy. Right. So the way that I describe it, and I've done a lot of work in the nutrition field, and the book that I wrote there, the Power of Food, talks a lot about how to utilize food in this way. And I don't want to take us off the relationships, but as an example, so now and I had a big sugar addiction at one point, and I discovered this through understanding my own nervous system. In the moments that I was craving sugar and being reactive to a bag of cookies, which I used to eat a whole bag of them, I would just I would do this practice. I would stop, I would notice, I would reconnect using my breath into how I want to feel. Now I'm at the choice stage. I still have the
Mhm.
cookie in my hand. I didn't react to eating it, but in the choice stage, I have the choice to still eat it if I want to. I'm not restricting myself in any way. I can still, but because I've now
Mhm.
centered my energy and I've given myself this very powerful act of
Mhm.
love and I'm in this beautiful power source, I don't crave it anymore. So now the
Mhm.
fresh choices start to lead you into living more and more
Mhm.
into that energy. And yes, do I still love
Mhm.
cookies? Absolutely. But do they hold me tight like they used to? No. I enjoy
Yeah.
them, so I eat them once in a while. But the choice is the most powerful part because it does extend the act of love.
Yes, thank you. And yeah, it's like even in those reactionary, habitual circumstances that we do things and not really thinking, like, if you are trying to, watch what you're eating and to eat healthier and whatnot, but old habits set in. I'm also a bit on the sweet tooth side. So I'm like, oh, it's a treat. Oh, a lot of people do that with alcohol. Oh, I've been working really hard, so I deserve. Well, really, like almost like going into that moment of reconnecting with that which you really are, to just take a moment to say, it's 30 seconds, it's nothing. But it's amazing how going into that place can help to realign you with, what choice you want to do, or what you want to take when you come out of it. So Adam,
Yeah.
if people want to connect with you after the show and learn more about you and your books and your services, your program, how can they do that?
Yeah, well, you can definitely reach out to me through my website, which is clearimpact.io, clearimpact.io. And I'm pretty active on Facebook under my name, Adam Hart. And those are the two main areas for sure.
Thank you so much. I feel so good going into today. And I hope everybody watching, took an opportunity to do that along with me, and that we can integrate this very powerful 4 steps into our lives going forward. So I thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing about about the steps and how we can integrate that to live happier lives and relationships.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Teresa.
I'd like to leave you with the thought for the day. Our external world is an outward reflection of our inner world. If things around you feel chaotic, there's a lack of peace within you. If it feels like people aren't respecting you, you aren't respecting yourself the way you need to. If you feel underappreciated, have you appreciated yourself lately? People are always judging you, but are you also judging others? And if you're looking outside yourself for love in others, how much are you loving yourself first? The people we interact with are often reflecting our beliefs about ourselves and the world, just like a mirror. If we don't like what's showing up in our lives, that's a clue for us to turn the mirror on ourselves and take a long, hard look at who we are and our internal landscape. Living happier lives require that we do the work to better ourselves first. If we want things around us to change, we need to stop expecting the people and circumstances around us to be different in order for us to be happy. Like my favorite quote from Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in the world. Be the change. You first must change before the world around you changes. The life we truly desire is within our control. Are you ready to take the necessary steps to live happier? Thank you for joining me on the show today, and I look forward to being with you again next week.